Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. See the horizon, turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. But you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. let's have a bit.
Well, it seems that we have arrived at the first round of Telialigaen and on the major broadcast. Of course, welcome everybody. And next to me is a beautiful, a lovely man named Bass from the past. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. I got one chance last season, Telialigaen, to come through here and cast all of this incredible action, but this time we are back, and not only are we back, we get to follow one of the best teams in this entire league in Major now for the next 9 weeks of play. Hyferia, this is going to be a treat here today, but it's going to be a treat every single week from here on out, and I cannot wait to get into it.
It is going to be absolutely amazing. And well, our first match is going to be against Bitfix. There's been a lot of changes, obviously. Apart from RLCS having roster mania, there is also roster mania going through the Telia League and a lot of switching around. And well, that also includes Major, who might have had the biggest changes in the league. Getting on Magma and Mads to pair with Lucky. I can already see it by your face. That's a move and a half, huh?
Yeah, to put it simply, this could make us possibly the strongest team in the league, and that's not even trying to just sort of hype up our own team. That's just kind of facts at this point. It's not to say that we're going to have an easy road. There's a ton of really, really strong teams here, but the fact of the matter is here, the team we've got in Mads, Lucky, and Magma are going to absolutely pop off throughout the season. The good thing is they also get a little bit of a chance to try and get some confidence here in this first week. We go up against Bitfix Gaming for this very first week, and not to say that this is a undeserving team or a bad team in any way, shape, or form, but they're definitely the underdogs in this league right now. So if we can start off with a really strong win against one of the lower seeds, it'll give us confidence going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with the second week match already being against a formidable opponent in Nordavind. They are sure a scary sight, but we have got a what I want to call a little bit of a more warm up week. They challenged from the second division. They qualified for that first division. So first of all, massive congrats to Bitfix for being here. But that being said, in all honesty, Major should have a bigger chance. But that is only one part of the roster mania, one part of the matchups. There are plenty of others go around, so make sure to check out if you want to watch another match, to check that out on Twitter. Well, another team that has gone through some roster changes is Domino. They are still in the league, but with a completely different team, which used to be their academy team, who've also qualified. And you can only have one team in this division, so it's not all Nordavind or all AW3. That would not be fun. So they let go of their main roster, and that turned into Rotarian, who are also incredibly scary.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about what we're seeing here is that pretty much any team at this point has a pretty good shot of upsetting one another. Obviously, we're going to have a little bit more confidence in the team that we are cheering for here in Major, but again, it's really all up in the air right now. It depends on how we start off in this very beginning of the season, and it really does depend for the rest of the other teams that we're seeing here as well. As much as AW3 and Nordavind and Rotarian are all very strong teams, they need strong starts. Momentum is a huge thing in Rocket League, and going down even 0-1 to start your season is going to make a massive change in a season that is only 9 weeks long. So losing one single match really can make all the difference.
And last time as well, the playoffs was a big money. If you already managed to qualify, that was a heck of a lot of money. So that is obviously the main goal. But I want to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot. I have not introduced this to you whatsoever. What's your top four for the end of the season? I'm preventing you from being mean, so I'm only asking top four.
All right. So top four, I mean, here's where this gets kind of hard for me is that top four is still pretty difficult because I feel like there's a couple of teams in here that I think are going to be a little bit surprising. I would say Must Do Flux somewhere in that top four if it weren't for the fact that I'm not as familiar with Forze as I am with Painy and Creamy, who are both very strong players. And again, every time I do get to see Must Do Flux, they end up popping off. But they'll probably take my fifth spot in the top four. We're going to go to AW3, Nordavind, Rotarion, and Major ourselves. The question really becomes is where does that roster start to sort of, or where does that list start to fall in line? Who gets fourth, who gets first? I'm gonna put Major at first. Obviously, I'm gonna have some bias. We're casting for
Small bit,
Major.
small
This is
bit.
the team that we're working with, so I'm gonna have to put them first. But again, even if it weren't for the fact that we were working with them, this is one of the most up-and-coming teams. Magma, Lucky, and Mads have all been taking Bubble Scene by storm. They've been popping off season after season and continually getting better and better, and I think that this is the roster that they're just going to absolutely pop off with. I think that this trio really does have a lot of potential. Aside from them being the team that we're working for, they're a threatening team who could just be explosive against any one of these other squads. And that being said, AW3 takes second for me, Nordavind take third, and Rotarion take fourth. But the second and third are really the closer ones. Rotarion taking third is pretty set, or excuse me, fourth is pretty set in stone for me. But AW3 and Nordavind can kind of go either way. It really depends on the day for a lot of these players. But for Fireman Jonas for me on AW3, it feels like he's really been grinding to try and promote himself and put himself at the prominence of both the bubble and professional scene here. So I have to imagine that this is going to be a pretty important event for him, considering how good he has done in events previously and how much he's really trying to make a name for himself. So I'd probably put AW3 at second, just a little bit of an edge because of the players that they've got.
Something I've heard a fair amount of times is the scariest thing about AW3 isn't even necessarily their players. Well, people are actually afraid of their coach, which is absolutely ridiculous. I've only heard good things about RU, and I would love to meet him someday, but that's neither here nor there. This is not RU fanboy stream. But they have got such a great squad going as well, and honestly, the entire top three for me can all be switched around, and that will all come down to the heads-on matchup where they will be facing each other. And well, let it just so be that we might just be facing AW3 in that final week. It will be tense to say the least. Also for us, I hope you get a insurance bass for your heart.
Yeah, my health insurance has got to be up to date going into the rest of the season. But you're 100% correct. That could possibly be one of the most intense matchups we see this entire season, even if it doesn't necessarily change playoff implications, which I would imagine it will, considering with the two teams that will be playing against each other. It's going to be sort of a pride thing, knowing that both of these teams are incredibly strong, knowing that both of these teams have really, really high projections for this league. That'll be an interesting sort of tester to see what's going to happen in playoffs and see what's going to happen there. I just kind of wonder whether or not it's going to be a back-to-back sort of thing. If Major end up taking the win in AW3, do they carry that momentum in the playoffs and then do it again? And similarly, if AW3 beat us, do they end up beating us again in playoffs? I mean, it's a lot of momentum in Rocket League. I talk about this constantly, but the main thing is just that these two teams really need to try and solidify themselves very, very quickly. Making sure they come out the gate strong and finishing the end of the season strong as well are going to both be just as important. That being said, AW3 looks like they already have started off the season pretty strong. They're currently 4-0. They took a 4-0 sweep over Playwell to start off with. I'm not sure if that was maybe because of a forfeit or something similar, but still, 4-0 to start off. You have to imagine AW3 is feeling pretty confident.
You know, it wasn't because of a forfeit. AW3 are doing AW3 things at the start of the season and sweeping the floor with a play well. But just a little reminder for everybody who might not be up to date to this format, because it is a little bit of a special one. You'd say 4-0, oh, that's a best of 7, right? No, it's a best of 6, I'm pretty sure, unless they swapped things around sneakily since last season. It is a best of 6, so you could, in theory, end up tying a game 3-3. With looking at that, there have been some odd scenarios where people don't really lose, but they tie quite a bit, and that also puts them high up in the ranking. It gives Rocket League a little bit extra flair, a little bit of extra spice up on the top. I just want to get your opinion on that as well, Bass. How do you think that affects the middle ground teams?
I think that it sort of makes it a little bit tenser. I think the biggest thing about everything here is that every game becomes a little bit more important because a lot of teams really do struggle with that cutoff, that ability to shut out a team. In a best of 5, it's getting that third win that becomes so difficult here. And now in this scenario where it's a best of 6, it becomes even harder knowing the fact that, hey, the other team doesn't necessarily have to overtake us. They just got to tie us at a certain point. So getting off to a 2-0 lead is definitely going to be big for a lot of these teams. I think for a lot of the guys in the middle pack, they're going to really be looking for those ties throughout the season, just sort of hoping to contain some of these bigger teams and get themselves a little bit more experience. But it's also not really a surefire sort of thing. It's one of these things where I really do feel like these teams are going to have to just play from where they go. You know what I mean? Like, as much as you can try to go into a series and hope for a tie at minimum, going for a win is going to be huge. Going for every single win that you can get throughout the series is going to be huge. And I just have to wonder for a lot of these teams whether or not they're coming into this one with a mentality of, oh, we're going to win everything, or just sort of survive against some of the pack. Because, again, not to sort of bash upon the teams that are in this league, but there are a couple of them here who are a little bit of a lower ranking, a little bit less experienced, and might not necessarily have the same sort of faith as some teams like AW3, Nordavind, and Major.
Ooh, throwing a little bit of shade in no particular direction. I do like it. If you feel like you're being spoken to and Bass says there are some lesser teams, well, you might just be it. But last season, there was only one team to go undefeated, and that was AW3. Even Nordavind, a massive, massive Norwegian esports org, went 6-2-1 with Playwell following up very close behind, 5-1-3. And, well, Playwell just got swept off the floor by last season's number one, but still, Playwell are not getting off to the start that they would have wanted. And just to go over the other matches real quick, since everybody apparently has PC issues, Norwegians might be struggling with technology a little bit, but there are some other matches. Obviously, we have already had a Playwell versus AW3. Fact Revolution versus Mustufluck will also be going on at the same time as Domino versus Rotarian. And that's going to be an interesting one. Old Org versus a new one. Obviously, Major versus a Bitfix gaming going on right here. And then afterwards, it will be Nordavind versus, and I always struggle with this name, the Razzler Dazzlers. And that will be coming towards you at 9 CET. Can you pronounce it? Razzle Dazzlers?
Razzle Dazzlers? Yeah, it's definitely a tongue twister to put it simply there. But hey, listen, always gotta love the names you see from a lot of these teams that aren't necessarily signed to an organization. Again, I mentioned Mustufluck for a lot of reasons. I really do love the team for their name. And it is nice to see that in a league that is really oriented towards a lot of orgs. Obviously, you've got Nordavind, you've got AW3, you've got Domino, you've got Major, you've got a lot of organizations here. Still to see a couple of pop-up teams pop in here and there and make a name for themselves throughout the bubble scene is huge. I think it really is awesome to see teams like this. And obviously, it's a big stage for them to try and get a little bit more press for themselves, a chance to get signed in the future. That being said, as far as I am aware, for Mustufluck, 2 out of the 3 players there in Creamy and Painy were technically signed last season. They were a part of Playwell. Playwell now with the internet choke in Cyric. I'm not actually sure how to pronounce that name, but only one of the 3 players are still there for Playwell at this point, meaning that Mustufluck might actually come into this one with not only a little bit more momentum, but they might actually be able to play the team they previously were signed for and have a little bit of, let's call it revenge against them in the offseason.
Yeah, a little bit of revenge is always good. And, well, as you might hear, and if you're familiar with your Rocket League sounds, yes, indeed, we did just join the matchup, but we do not have a billion-dollar audio program to split all the different sources. Or we could just say the broadcaster is not smart enough for that. Whoever that might be is an absolute idiot, of course. But I think it is about time we start delving into this matchup, Major versus Bitfix. We've hinted at it already. We've said Major is, in our opinion, the favorite. But from an unbiased position, how big is that favoritism going towards Major?
I mean, in my opinion, I really do think that this is going to be one of these things where we either take it 4-1 or we take it, 4-0. I don't want to try and talk down to Bitfix in any way, shape, or form, but it's just one of these things where they're not as proven as a lot of the other guys. They come from Division 2 against a team which has been, like we said, on the up and up over and over again here. So I really do have to wonder if Bitfix are going to be prepared for this type of pressure here. I don't think that they are going to play out poorly in any way, shape, or form. I do not think that this is going to be a bad performance from them, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to get a multitude of wins here against a team that has a lot to prove. This is a new roster here for Major. It's a roster which they are very, very proud of, and it's a roster they want to do well. And considering that, that means they want to start off the season well. So for Major, this is a big game for us. We want to make sure that we demonstrate our technical abilities right out the gate, and to do so, you kind of have to show no mercy against a team like Bitfix.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bitfix, what I heard from the main stream is that they're a team that is not necessarily individually very high up, but as a team, they very much are. They are absolutely amazing as a team. So I think it's going to be a show of individual performance versus as a team trying to solve the problem together. And those are always incredibly interesting matchups. If Bitfix manage to counter Major, we will see a matchup and a half. But if they do not manage to keep them under control and keep their mechanical prowess down a little bit here, and well, then they might see a problem for Bitfix.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things, is sort of the technicality of the team that we have. Sort of going into individual players here between Mads, Lucky, and Magma, I don't really think that there's going to be a distinct difference in their technical abilities here. It's going to be interesting to see how they do as a trio, and it's something we're going to have to find out as game number 1 is underway. This best of 6, like we mentioned, a possibility for a tie here. Major definitely looking to avoid that, though. Would love to come out the gates firing and get themselves a win very early on in the season.
And that would be absolutely lovely. Mads now taking it out to the side. Only 40 boost left. Does not reach Magma. And the Dominus and cheeky little card choice going on there. Lucky demoing Neko. And Magma, that's a pass straight to the center. Luckily for him, there's nobody there to take a ripper. Actually, Q-Tips is very much there, but Magma wants us to solve the problem himself. Lucky clearing it out to the other side. Brooke very simply takes it down the side of him. Now attacks that left flank. Magma still back in a defensive position, and Magma now pinched it through. Can Mads put this on target? No, the angle is impossible.
That's a little bit off target, but already you're starting to see why we said Major were such a threatening team. Oh my word. Not only have they been dominating in the air, but they're doing it on the ground as well. Magma linking up with Lucky here in the perfect 1-2 pass. Look at the accuracy on that shot into the top right.
I have a challenge for us this entire season here. Because, well, we've got Magma, we've got Mads, and we've got then one very obvious player, Lucky. Our challenge is to not make a single pun about that name the season, all right?
I mean, listen, you say that as if it's, you know, going to be an easy task. That is truly a challenge and a half. I feel like I'm going to try to do it in this very first game if I can, but maybe not the wisest of decisions here, as we want to try and cheer on these players as much as possible, not have them hear the cast and then tilt out because we're just making puns about their name. But 90 seconds in, there seems to be no signs of tilt so far here. Major absolutely dominating. They have spent a majority of this game in their opponent's half, and even when it looks like Bitfix are getting into our half, they don't seem to have much of a plan. Again, another disorganized attack here that doesn't even result in a shot, Hyferia.
Yeah, something I'm very much going to be looking for is how Major work together, and as you said, how they can prevent those shots. And this is a moment where they do not work together properly. The back line was not defended, and Echo manages to sneak one through. It was a ripper, 95 kph from the other side of the pitch, but you do have to be prepared for him.
Yeah, this is sometimes the difficulty that teams made of not necessarily one's players, but individual players who really like to show their own prowess can struggle with. The rotations are definitely one of the most important things in Rocket League, and I mean, you and I talk about this constantly when it comes to our cast here, but it's usually a team that plays a little bit safer that's going to end up taking the win here, and for a team that's rather explosive and extremely technical, Major are definitely going to have to iron out some of those issues as the season goes on. That being said, it's not much of an issue so far here, especially when Magma can just dice it up to Lucky easily. The shot may not be on target, but at least Mads can finish it off. 1, 2, 3 punch there. Every single player getting involved, and Major will take the lead again.
The amount of forward momentum with that flip reset was staggering, but the amount of height in exchange for it was absolutely amazing, and directly what a Major needed in that position. Brooke flipping past the ball, but beating Mads to the boost, and they can continue this attack. Magma needs to be careful. Let's Q-Tips challenge, and now Lucky wanting to break his way through. Brooke waiting patiently right in front of him. Magma is going to set himself up a lovely double touch, but none of Q-Tips has anything to say about it. Goes down the line once again. Mads pops it up, but then he gets popped into the own defensive half once again. Lucky. It's a very simple shot, and it will be cleared.
I know that you're saying don't make some puns about Lucky, but it's taking everything in me to not make a pun about Q-Tips at this point. For some reason, I really do want to make a pun about that, but we're going to have to wait for right now. Doesn't really seem like that player is really too involved. To be honest, it doesn't really feel like Bitfix are getting themselves too involved in the play. Aside from the one goal they've had, they haven't had many good offensive opportunities. At 7 shots to Major versus the 2 for Bitfix, it's overwhelmingly in favor of Major right now, and they're only up by a goal. This is really methodical for a team, like we said, that isn't necessarily going to be as technically organized, considering their rotations are a little bit weaker because it's the beginning of the season here. They've done a great job of keeping this offensive pressure up. So maybe their defense have a couple of holes here and there, but in terms of their offense, the rotation is flowing basically perfectly. Okay, maybe not. Probably someone should have taken a shot there. Okay, doesn't matter. Magma's going to get a freebie. So listen, I'm not going to be critical of the major defense anymore, because if I'm going to do that, I've got to be critical of Bitfix for whatever that was.
I can do nothing but laugh. I'm not even I'm not even trying to make fun of them. That just genuinely looked really funny. All the players flipping past the ball, and Major somehow thinking, what is going on? How did we just get a goal out of this? And I was actually going to point out something very important in this kind of series. Everybody has that moment in Rocket League where they lose a match or where they feel that they should have been winning. And if the Major is one of those teams that could have that problem had they start losing, because individually and on paper they are the better team, but you also need to actually put that in fruition. You need to beat the teams that are worse than you on paper, and that can prove to be a struggle if you do not have a proper team play going through. So at least for them, it's very positive that they're currently winning 3-1, maybe even 4-1 if they cannot clear this out, and they do not do that on the side of a Bitfix game, and then that will be 4-1.
Yeah, this was just a really well done play from Mads there. Drags in every single defender from Bitfix there. And to be honest, that's not really that surprising. Again, we said Bitfix looks really shaky on the back end here, and it's only being further emphasized as now we've almost doubled our shot total. Initially, we were about 2 for 7. Now, all of a sudden, we are 4 for 11 at this point. Or excuse me, 4 for 12, shooting about 30%. It's just kind of unrelenting pressure here. Major doing the same thing on repeat, forcing it into an awkward position in front of the net, having someone dive on it, and just keeping that pressure up until eventually a shot is there that they cannot block. And unfortunately for Bitfix, it just doesn't really seem like they've had much time to get back into this one, as again, the strategy pulls itself through one more time. Unrelenting offensive pressure, and eventually with a mistouch in the corner here from Q-Tips, it will get stuck in the half, and all of a sudden a ripper finds its way into the back of the net.
Major just chasing that ball down until infinity, and Bitfix not being able to do anything about it now with 16 seconds. It doesn't really matter anymore. The game was already set in stone, and that little bit of extra momentum going down the side of Major, it's surely going to help them along their path towards their, hopefully for them, a 4-0 sweep right here. But the first game is at least locked down. And I've seen some crazy things in Rocket League, and all of a sudden Bitfix coming to life would not be the craziest one out of them.
Yeah, I don't think that Bitfix are out of this by any stretch of the imagination here. I think the biggest thing, though, is they need to just get themselves out of their own half a little bit quicker and then actually transition into a solid offense. We saw them on the side of Major a couple of different times here and there, but it didn't really feel like they actually ever got anything done. I'm not going to complain about that, though. I'm happy with a 5-1 win in favor of Major at this point. They're absolutely dominating, and they seem to have ironed out a lot of the issues that we had to start this game. Initially, the backline looked rather shaky. It didn't really look like they were prepared, but as the game went on, they started to not necessarily have a improper backline, but just started to create a midfield presence that prevented those issues in the first place. So really well done to Major here in this very first game. I'm hoping they can keep this momentum up because, again, a win here in week number 1 would not only be good for their momentum, but it'd be a good thing to just get this team feeling cohesive and feeling like they can play as a solid trio against even solid competition in Bitfix and the rest of Telialigaen.
Absolutely, and that is now the second game kicked off. Mads taking it down to the side. Finds Magma, but it's just a little bit too far. Magma does not get a proper controlling touch, so Lucky has to jump in there and see what he can manage to do. Lucky now to the center will be Neko with an interception. The only goal that they did get is at the hands of that man, Neko himself. Sneaking one by Major, and that triple commit is certainly not going to help their chances. Mads, only 24 boost, but a free shot. Neko getting bumped up. Lucky still looking for another bump, or maybe a redirect. Does not find either, and the attack will still continue until it's given away to Brooke.
Unfortunately, this is just the same sort of thing on repeat here. Bitfix not able to get out of their own half, and Lucky, oh my word! Had they actually scored that, it would have been a fantastic fake out to the flip reset, but no such luck. But here's the issue. Bitfix, despite being able to stop that attack, haven't stopped the attack altogether. They almost actually own goal. no such luck in favor of Major there, but Major really don't even have to panic. There is no way that Bitfix are getting out of their half right now. The double commitments and misorganization of this team has left them vulnerable. Oh, but a demo might just change their favor. Q-tips, no such luck on the redirect, and no such luck on the follow-up either. Denied twice in a row. Stuck in their half once again here. Bitfix just really struggling to find themselves any sort of good offensive pressure. It feels like they get into offense for about a second, and then as soon as the shot doesn't work, they're so quick to retreat and try and prevent another goal going into the back of their net.
Yeah, they're incredibly solid on the rotation as of right now. Bitfix, they double commit too much. They struggle in the entirety of the game. Well, they might just get a breakaway. The score is still 0-0, and anything can change, can happen right here. Maybe even Neko going for the ball, but Magma beats him to it. Passes it to Mads. Mads, I'm not too sure whether they're going to touch on it, but he will be able to extend. Broquet off the backboard. Let's see what he can do with it. Brings it down to the ground. Goes for a little pinch, but it will be right into the hood of a Magma. You don't want to enter that. Lucky taking it out to the side. And can he clear it out even further by his lonesome? They're doing massive work just by themselves. And then Mats goes for a long distance shot. Major sneaks through.
Once again, the defensive rotation's really lacking here for everyone on Bitfix. Double commit out at midfield, and you know someone like Mads is going to punish without a second thought. Leave the net open and snipes it on target. 1-0 in favor of Major here. And again, not a surprising result, but the more surprising thing would be the fact that there's been so much offensive pressure here for Bitfix in Game 2, and still they're struggling to find shots. Only one registered shot throughout this game so far, despite, I would actually say, they've probably had more time on the offensive half than Major has.
It's a crazy game sometimes, and right now Magma wanting to get a few more shots on a target. Not going to be able to do that from his own back wall, so brings it forward a little bit. This is going to be a free ball from Mads. Q-tips has absolutely nothing to say about it. Mads even able to grab the boost. Q-tips being sent flying. Mads now going for the second tap to place it on target, and that is Major once again breaking through with Mads specifically doing the work.
Mads continuing to dominate in air here. You can see a little bit of a fake out. For a second, he was going to go for the bump. It's the only reason that Neko doesn't go up initially, recognizing he's got to try and avoid that. But by the time he recognizes it, it's a bit too late. 2-0 in favor of Major here, and Mads really doing the most when it comes to that aerial prowess. And look at this. Once again, they're so threatened by Mads in the air. No one even challenges him on the wall there. And oh, my word. But you know what? Maybe it worked out for the better. Q-tips with another long-range goal here. And again, Major might be doing well on offense, but it does seem like their defensive line are still struggling the same as game number 1.
Well, something satisfying could be occurring here. If Bitfix do manage to win this game, that would mean that apart from play well versus AW3, every single first round match, the first 2 games, went back and forth. Currently in every other series, it is a 1-1 in series score. Magma is obviously going to be trying to get that up to a 2-0, and he doesn't care about the satisfaction of me. He just wants to win this game, and fair enough to him, looking at wanting to go underneath, or Broquet very much realizes what's going on.
This one off the backboard, I don't think it's going to really result in much. But again, Major doing major things at this point, locking Bitfix into their half and just keeping this pressure up. They don't necessarily have as many shots as before, but they still do have the overwhelming favor in shots right now. At 6-2, it is clear that Major are starting to just put on the pressure. All they need is one shot into the back of the net, and they will regain that 2-goal lead. Lucky with some great patience on the line, and we will find the lead with 1:23 left on the clock.
Now, what I'm seeing right now in Bitfix quite a bit is one initial miss, leading to panic in the defense, leading to double commits, backflips, etc. All those kind of things that you do not want to see in a defense, especially not for Bitfix. Another double commit does come through. Neko and Q-tip, I'm pretty sure, and Magma. And Lucky, they're feeling a little bit frisky, I feel like, on the side of Major. They're going for a little bit more freestyle goals. You can't really blame them. They're up 2 goals, but they do have to be careful because the assailants are still playing on the field, and that is obviously the side of Bitfix and Target.
They've got to be a little bit careful here. As much as I do appreciate a little bit of showmanship, at a 2-goal lead, I am not confident enough to say this team can start messing around. I'd love to see them gain a little bit more of a lead and a little bit more security here, because with 45 seconds left, all it takes is one more defensive error, and that could be it. Magma, oh my word, does get the touch off the backboard, but had any player on Bitfix been prepared, they could have interrupted. But I think that's also starting to hint at another issue we're seeing for Bitfix here. They are really shy to go up to any any of these balls in the air. They're recognizing they are being outclassed when it comes to aerial play here. Major are dusting them in almost every single instance, and to be honest, I think that's just starting to come with a lack of confidence here. If Bitfix do start challenging in the air a little bit more frequently, they should have a greater chance of being able to win some of these aerial battles, but they just aren't doing that. As you can see, no one up on this one. Eventually, Neko goes for that on the back end, but gets up in time to only get a 50 against Lucky. So I think that as much as Bitfix definitely do look a little bit stronger here in game number 2, the biggest issues we're seeing are still defensive blunders, as well as not winning aerial battles. And as a result, Major 2-0 here in the series. 2 games away from taking the sweep, and I know I predicted the sweep being one of the possibilities to start this series off, but not only am I thinking that it's a possibility, I'm starting to think that's most likely the outcome at this point, Hyferia.
Yeah, the problem I'm having is that it's just plain and simple. Major is outclassing Bitfix right now. As much as I dislike saying it, Major is just currently a more well-rounded team, and we see misses on the side of Bitfix, but we see a lovely little second tap off the backboard from Magma. The individual skill bailing them out of certain positions that would be questionable, but they are managing it for sure. So that will be now a 2-0 lead for Major, and they only need one more to at least guarantee a tie.
I would be astonished if they don't guarantee the tie here. I'll be 100%. I'd be more astonished, though, to see if they continue with these defensive blunders here. I really do hope that after this first week, considering the 2 goals that they've given up have both basically just been because of defensive mishaps, I hope that they can at least reflect upon this and recognize some of the defensive mistakes that they have been making. Again, the offense, unrelenting, extremely strong, but every time it goes back into their own half, you have to clench a little bit and be a little bit nervous that they might just give up an unnecessary goal. Luckily enough, they have not done that, and actually they're right back to their usual ways on offense and looking explosive. Lucky trying to go for the redirect out of nowhere, and well, I'll tell you one thing, they may be trying to play a little bit more defensive here, but the showmanship has not stepped down at all.
Absolutely not. The score still 0-0, but they already act as if they've got this one in the bag. It comes with a certain amount of cockiness, but that is something that we have very much of a overstatement in the Rocket League community of cockiness. But the differences between these 2 teams, it's a very simple one as well. Bitfix, great, they just got picked up. They came from the 2nd division. They're making themselves a known player in the scene, a known team. But Major has been that kind of team already. These players have been very well rounded. So for Bitfix to have an org, we don't know their situation. They might have been on vacation, because what I'm seeing from them right now is mainly inconsistency in hitting the ball, and I do expect Bitfix to be massively upping during the season. As of right now, it is still completely tied, but Major have a massive offense going.
They do, but unfortunately, they can't seem to find a really solid shot here. Before this, they would find a threatening shot and then wait for the follow-up, but so far, it's been a lot of lackluster offenses in a row. But speaking of lackluster offenses, Bitfix again back into their opponent's half without a real shot, a single one registered from Neko, but besides that, Bitfix still really struggling to find a good shot on target and a good offense that finishes in a goal that is really deserved. Again, the 2 goals they have found have become because of defensive blunders. That's a tongue twister and a half at this point. But seriously, that's kind of the biggest issues, is that defensive blunders are why we're seeing Bitfix score. This time it's Major who take advantage of a defensive blunder, as this is, I'm not going to call it an own goal, but this was definitely preventable.
Yeah, it was preventable, and another one of those inconsistencies shining through, and being at the end of Bitfix once again. Major, they seem to have this one under control for plenty of time. It can do plenty of things, of course, and Neko might be able to right his wrongs right there. Misses the ball, though. Q-Tips chasing Magma down, gets a demo. Doesn't manage to keep it in the center, but Q-Tips is doing so much work. There was nobody there to back him up, and that causes Major some space, and they're able to break out quickly. Magma completely by his lonesome breaks out against 3, and now going for this crazy redirect. Does not manage to get it, though.
I would have loved to seen that. It would have been pretty incredible, but unfortunately not quite able to do so. One thing Magma is able to do there, though, is prevent what would have been an identical goal to the last two that Bitfix have been able to score. So it does look like the defense is starting to lock down a little bit more. Mad's making a phenomenal on-the-line save, but is anyone there for the follow-up? No such luck. Finally, Q-Tips and Neko link up, and we see a real goal out of Bitfix, and I'm not going to say this was a defensive blunder, but definitely not the greatest time for Mads to retreat for boost.
It's also a little bit of that cooking is shining through on the sidewall, trying to take their time and trying to set up that aerial play. That is something they have to keep in tone, and well, I know the coach is watching, and I'm sure that will be something that is going to get brought up because they are only in a 1-all scenario. They have to play a little bit more careful at this point. Sure, you might have won the previous two pretty comfortable, but the opportunity for your opponent to get back into it if they have a clean breakaway. Lucky needs to get back very rapidly to prevent it. But giving your opponent chances is something you do not want to do.
Oh my word, Neko almost having a chance there out of nowhere off the backboard, trying to somewhat replicate some of the shots we had seen previously out of Major, and Major right now really having to struggle on defense. They have not broken out of their half in quite some time, a plethora of saves, but it's one thing to make a save, it's another thing to transition into an offense, and Magma going to finally do exactly that. Gets a little bit of assistance out of Bitfix, who pop it into their own half, and now as you can see, all three players in the corner, they are struggling to find some sort of defensive posture, and I think they're going to get scored on because of it. Lucky going to bang this one into the top left, and I'm not going to say Magma missed this. This is a calculated fake. That's what we'll go with. Calculated fake.
Oh, Nick, it was a little bit awkward on the side of the post there as well. And the calculated fake, as you said, shining through perfectly. It is obviously, anytime players fake, it is intentional. It is a very well-known fact, honestly, of the Rocket League community. Let's see whether Magma's going to fake this one. No, he does manage to get a hit on it. And on the clear out, there's only 50 seconds left, and I think it's time for Bitfix to start moving.
They've got to try and keep this offensive pressure up. They are in our half right now, and if they want a chance at overtime, they need to take a solid shot. And uh-oh, Mads with a bad save, but Magma will back them up again. This is where we mention it's one thing to make a save, it's another thing to turn it into an offense. And right now for Major, while they are making some solid saves, they haven't really been able to break out into their opponent's half if it weren't for defensive or offensive blunders out of Bitfix here. And maybe this time they can actually do it a little bit more organically, but no, Lucky pops it into the other half, but no one there and ready. Q-Tips does pop that right back into the hands of Major, but they aren't quite able to hold on to it, and unfortunately, it looks like there will be one more chance. Can Bitfix at least force an overtime? Double commitment in the corner is going to leave Major very vulnerable. Bruckay here. Can they keep it up? Yes, they can. Neko up as well. 50-50. Can anyone keep this going? Q-Tips will do the same, and Neko will go for another 50, but at this point, all Bitfix are doing are allowing for 50-50s and getting pushed further into their half. They not only need to keep this one up, but they need to get an offense together, and as Mads pops this into the backboard, I thought it would be the end, but no such luck. Q-Tips almost able to keep this out at midfield, but once again, in the narrowest of fashions this time, Major will take the win, and they've guaranteed the tie at this point, but can they take the sweep in 4-0 fashion? It's starting to look like Bitfix are getting a little bit stronger, Hyferia, but I still don't know if they're going to be able to take a win here in this series.
And this is what I was talking about, that Bitfix is getting a little bit stronger. I want to say somewhat proves my point that they're going to be better later in the season. They're going to keep on improving and being better and better, and that's exactly why I said you do not want to give your opponents any chance to get back, because Bitfix, they didn't get here by chance. They didn't just take a lovely little evening stroll and it's like, oh, Telialigaen Div 1. Oh, let me just walk in there, strutting in, and let's just go on playing. No, they got here because they are a good team. And right now, it is up to Major to prevent that from shining through.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing here, is that obviously this team may struggle a little bit at the start of the season to find their footing, to find the confidence necessary to meet some of these higher level teams. But yeah, as they get further into the season, they will start to develop their play a little bit more. And honestly, it's the best way you can do this. In order to improve as a Rocket League player, you need to play against players which are better than you. And at the end of the day here, Major just seem to have this team outclassed. But hey, maybe if they end up matching up against each other in playoffs and we see them again, they'll have a little bit better of a run against us. But for right now, they are are still struggling as they try to build an offense one more time. Bitfix would love an early lead here. If they do get that early goal, it would be huge, though, because, again, our offense has been our best, but if you shake us to the core and just sort of emphasize the defensive errors that we've seen out of Major here today, I really do think there's a chance at an upset, and oh my word, they almost are able to get that, but no such luck. Q-Tips on the line with the shot, but denied by Mads, and once again, Bitfix come up empty on offense.
They're getting a little bit more saucy on the other end right now. Bitfix Gaming, they're getting it closer and closer. And it's right now the other side on the attack. Major, of course, wanting to break through and get that initial goal on the board. And they might have even listened to me already. Neko looking to extend, not get finding the second tap, and Brooke Q-Tip bundling up, having a little team talk. Obviously, you want to do that in between the game, not during the game, as Lucky pass it to Magma. This is a decent opportunity, but Neko prevents.
Ooh, Lucky, though, not going to let anyone from Bitfix out of their own half, though. Broke does try to go for the follow-up touch, but as Magma, again, no contest in the air. Neko really hesitant, and this is, again, emphasizing the issues we are seeing right now with Bitfix. They are just a little bit too hesitant when it comes to their aerial game, but apparently their counterattacks are just a bit stronger. Lucky with not the greatest 50-50, and Broke and Q-Tips will take advantage.
They are now in the lead for the first time this entire series. It is promising to be a very good game indeed, Major. This is where they can't start slacking. You've only locked up a tie. That's not as much points, obviously, as it win, as they're hunting for the attack right away. And Mads getting through. It's Q-Tips with the clear out. Lucky. Can he pass it to Magma? Yes, he very much can. I think there was somebody on the backboard, but he has retreated right now. Mads deciding it's the smarter opportunity, the smarter decision to go back. Q-Tips double jumping. The recovery will take a while, but luckily he doesn't have that boost spawn right in front of him. And Major, once again, do not crack the defense.
I think there's usually two ways that a goal like this either goes. Either A, Bitfix take the momentum and they start to run with it and really find some confidence, or B, you light a flame under the butt of the other team that just took the that is now in a deficit and done. Unfortunately for Bitfix, I think it's the latter of those two. Major coming out the gates firing after going down by 1 in short succession. They've already had 5 goals and 5 shots. Here's the 6th, and this time it will be a goal. Lucky with a double touch off the backboard, and indeed, I think they've just lit a flame that they're not quite sure how to extinguish.
Now, with that being said, the flame on both sides is currently erupting. A battle of Infernos, who is currently playing another series, but that doesn't really matter. Major versus Bitfix. It is Major massively up in the series, but this game is anyone's game as of right now. Lucky passing it to Mads. Mads being a little bit awkward in the air. Lucky has to come and bail him out. And Q-Tips, good controlling touch to take it down to his own corner. And the recovery is just a little bit too slow, and that calls an infield pass, but Brookay's on the perfect position to deal with it.
We're starting to see a much better backline here out of Bitfix as well. Earlier, they were giving up a lot of goals to defensive blunders that were rather unnecessary, whether it was a whiff or just not being in the right position. This time, they've got someone positioned, they've got someone ready, but the shot is all too powerful. Brooke giving a little bit too much time to Mads, and this is a boomer into the right side.
Did you, when you used to go swimming back when you were younger, did you ever have a ball with you?
Sure, yes. Where are you going with this?
Well, those kind of shots always remind me when you try and get the ball as far under the water as possible and then let go of it, and it just shoots up out of absolutely nowhere. And as a kid, obviously, you don't know what's going on, so you think it's the force or whatever. And that kind of reminded me of Mads' shot. He got a lot of power out of absolutely nowhere, and I don't have an explanation.
I don't really have much of one either. All I can tell you is indeed this flame has been lit, and at this point, it's starting to engulf all of Bitfix at this, oh my god, at this moment. Q-Tips really getting engulfed by the flames. Matter of fact, going up in flames, as his name might suggest here. Demoed off the field, and once again, Bitfix struggling to find that offensive pressure. They have 2 shots in this game. They are not only being outshot by Mads alone, or excuse me, by Lucky alone, who has 4 shots, but Mads has 2, Magma has 4. They are quite literally getting outshot 5-1 right now. If Bitfix want a shot at this game, at a shot at overtime and taking a win here, they need to get into offense and keep that pressure up, not retreat back into defense like they've been doing on repeat here.
Well, this is a phenomenal pass into the field, and Lucky is right there to come and collect Bitfix. And both of them were on the side wall, or in the back wall rather, and then that was the wrong position. Brooke training up behind Neko. They did space it out a decent bit, but none of them went low, and that will cause Major to take a commanding lead right here in the final 40 seconds. It's going to be a battle and a half for Bitfix to bring this one back.
They're going to try their best, but unfortunately what they just showed there was a little bit of game number one again. Like we mentioned, they had gotten stronger on defense, but double commits will absolutely erase any of the progress you had made previously. And unfortunately, that's what we're starting to see here. Bitfix really panicking on defense, just trying to slow down this Major team in any way, shape, or form. And as they've been dusted in 2 plays in a row, both times just straight up not getting a touch on the ball as Major move around them, they are struggling to find that momentum in their favor. And oh my word, they're struggling to even find a shot. Magma takes this one the other way. And as the clock ticks down, indeed, it looks like we are going to get that 4-0. But Bitfix definitely showed improvements as the game went on, as the series went on. They definitely got better. So while it was not the strongest start for them, I hope to see them later in this tournament doing better in this league, just finding their strength. But for right now, we've just got to be congratulatory to Major for an incredible start. We thought they'd take the win here, but my oh my, did they prove us incredibly correct. Not only did they take the win, they did so in dominant fashion, and some of the goals they were able to pull off were absolutely spectacular, Hyferia.
I can't wait for what's to come in the coming weeks. Obviously, next week is going to be a battle and a half. And as we said at the start, this is a little bit of a more warm-up week, but that being said, we are the Major broadcast, and obviously we are going to be cheering for Major. That does not exclude us from giving out compliments, and I do want to give a genuine compliment to Bitfix that there's a lot of potential going on there. There's a lot of plays that kind of go wrong because of a mistouch, and what are mistouches, or where do they come from? They usually come from or playing less or being a little bit inconsistent, not having played for a long while. So I very much think that they can work that out, iron those mistakes away, and they will be back even stronger.
Yeah, 100%. At this point, it's one of these things where I really don't think that this was a poor showing in any way, shape, or form. Yes, they might have gone down 4-0, but they didn't get shut out a single game, and that really does sort of speak volumes to the ability of this team. A lot of teams will come into a scenario like this. They'll recognize that they are straight up outclassed by their opponents, that they're probably not taking the win on the day, and they will get so deflated that they kind of just give up. They'll just be like, all right, you know what? Let's just get this team, or let's just get this team out of the way. Let's just get this series out of the way, and let's move on to the next one. Bitfix did not do that. There was no backing down from the team. There was no lack of aggression out of the team. They tried to keep themselves in the entire time, and as a result, they found goals because of it, and that is a lot harder of a thing to do than most people would realize. So, seriously, very, very well done to Bitfix here today. You guys might not have taken the win, but considering you were coming into this one low man on the totem pole, it's not something you should be ashamed of, and it's only up from here on out. I look forward to seeing you guys in the rest of the season, but as much as we do want to give compliments to Bitfix, we also have to give compliments to Major. Seriously, what a fantastic way to start off the season, Hyferia.
And the absolutely lovely way, and Bitfix will be going up against Playwell, so both of them getting a 4-0 swept. It's going to be an interesting match as well, but we do have another game ourselves next week, and that will be against Nordavind, a very scary one, and I'm sure a lot of the hours the players have in this coming week will go towards preparing for that, and we will unfortunately do the same. There are some other matches that are still going on, and there will be Nordavind versus the Razzler Dazzlers. I still struggle to pronounce it, and I don't think I'm going to get away with it any part of the season, but that will be going on RL Norway. If you want to get a cheeky little look into how Nordavind is playing, please make sure to check that out. That will be me and Bass checking out for the evening. We want to thank you so much for watching, and hopefully until next week, have a good one.